tip this week is about the second variation of eyelet buttonholes. And by the way, there are tons of variations on the eyelet buttonhole. The ones that I have selected are ones that I cover in my class, my finishing class, and also in the 2-day course I teach at conferences. This one works particularly well with knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. And I've set up a swatch where I've got knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. And where I want to place the buttonhole is right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate these 2 purl stitches by decreases, and then I'm going to do a yarn over, double yarn over, and then I will be replacing them on the next row. So this one requires a bit of pre-planning. You have to make sure that you've got 2 purl stitches where you want the buttonhole and 2 knit stitches on either side. So I'm going to go ahead and work up to where my buttonhole is going to be, or to the next knit stitch. Now if I want to eliminate this purl stitch, and if I use a knit 2 together, what that's going to do is it's going to put the purl stitch on top of the knit stitch, because a knit 2 together slants towards the right, and it makes the stitch on the left on top. So that decrease is not going to work here. If I want to have the knit stitch on top, which will obscure this purl stitch, I use an SSK. Okay, whoops, and there's my SSK. So the purl stitch is gone, and I have a column of knit stitches. Now I'm going to do my double yarn over, and in this instance, if I did an SSK, the same problem would happen. This one would be on top, but in this instance, a knit 2 together is going to cover it. So you can see that I have 2 yarn overs, and the purl stitches are hidden behind the knit stitches. Now on the next row is where I work the yarn overs. And whenever you're working a yarn over or something on a row, a wrong side row, you need to think about what is the right side going to look like. Now in this instance, my 2 yarn overs are above 2 purl stitches, so I'm going to want these to look like 2 purl stitches. And if I'm working in the round, then I would be purling those. But I'm working flat, so that means that when I work these 2 stitches, I should work them as knit stitches. Now again, if you look at instructions for this particular decrease or type of buttonhole, it's going to say knit into the first yarn over and purl into the next. So when I knit into it, that is going to give me a purl stitch on the right side, but when I purl into the back of the yarn over, that would give me a knit stitch. And again, I just think that looks tacky. It bothers me. If it doesn't bother you, then just go ahead and do it. Again, usually these are hidden by a button anyway, so does it really matter? No. But because I am picky about this sort of thing, what I do, instead of doing basically a knit into the front, knit into the back, which is more or less a bar yarn over, a bar increase, I do an M1. Now if I want this to look like a purl on the other side, I've got to knit it. And I don't really need to worry too much about the slant of these things on the right side because they're purl stitches, and purl stitches really don't show that much of a slant. So I'm going to knit into it once using an M1, and I'm going to knit into it again. And you can see on the right side I have these 2 yarn overs. Hey George. And George, let me get my yarn off his tail, silly cat. And then I'm going to work to the end. Now what this looks like on the right side is this. I have my yarn over, I have my 2 decreases that obscure the purl stitch, and then the purl stitches are returned on the next row, and everything is happy. George, and I guess I gotta go feed the cat.